Chapter 1. The First Silence. It began with silence. Not the gentle hush of snowfall or the lull between cricket songs, but a deep, unnatural stillness. A moment when every echo in the mining village of Echo Hollow simply stopped. For years, life here moved to the percussion of pickaxes in distant caves and the regular laughter spilling from lamplit cabins. The townsfolk were proud, tough. Children grew up on stories of silver veins, and elders remembered the days when moonshiners danced as shadows on the forest edge. But in the waning days of autumn, without warning, Echo Hollow lost its music. The crows stopped calling. Water at the river's bend ran sluggish, stifling even the babble of pebbles rolling under its shallow skin. Mark Slater, the night watchman, noticed first. When he clapped to chase away a stray dog, his hands made no sound. The dog turned and stared, confused. Mark clapped again, panic rising. Nothing. 1. The absence grows. By the next morning, the silence infected everything. Doors closing, dishes dropped, even voices, all became a dull, suffocating hush. Old Miss Beatrice, who spent afternoons reciting poetry to children on her porch, mouthed a line, only to watch despair flicker in their eyes as no sound emerged. Families gathered in uneasy terror, faces pale in oil lamplight, shaking radios and shouting at silent flames. Rumors fluttered. Perhaps it was a gas leak or a government experiment. Some whispered darker things, curses, old wilderness gods, the price of greedy hands digging too deep beneath the forest. But as the days dragged and nothing improved, fear shifted into anger, and anger into suspicion. If no one could speak, who could say what was really happening? Who could be trusted? If, behind familiar faces, something new had quietly taken their place. 2. Waking in the Echo. On the third night, Ana Rivera, one of the mine's engineers, awoke to a soft vibration in her chest. She assumed it was another nightmare. She'd had many since her brother vanished in the caves last spring. But as she sat up, the air around her rippled. She heard, not with her ears but somewhere deeper, a faint echo calling her name, her true name, the one only her brother used. Annie. Compelled, Anna rose and moved through her sleeping house. At each window, shadows flickered, tall, jointless shapes gliding past in a blue half-light. Their faces were pale imitations of her neighbors, but their eyes were hollows, reflecting not moonlight but moving fog. Each time they passed, Anna felt the echo grow stronger inside, an urge to follow, to forget herself and become one of them. She did not, could not, move. Instead, Anna scrawled her brother's name in chalk on the cottage wall, desperate to hold on to something real. The echo faded, and so did her fear, for one more night. 3. When sound returns. At dawn, the town woke to a single thunderous noise, a deep bell tolling from the abandoned church at the edge of the woods. The sound shattered windows, sent chairs tumbling, and nearly burst eardrums. But with the cacophony came relief. Birds shrieked, dogs barked, and babies screamed for the first time in days. As people flocked to the church, shaken but grateful, they noticed something worse than silence. The streets were full of twins, people standing next to perfect copies of themselves, each glaring in terrified confusion. No one knew which version had gone out to fetch water or close the stable door, which was mother and which imitation. Panic splintered the group. Neighbors blamed each other, families fractured, and the village dissolved into a chaos of accusation and self-doubt. 4. Reflections and replacements. Anna, braver than most, realized the echoes in her dreams were warnings, not voices, but memories fighting to survive. She began marking everyone she could trust with a secret sign, a carved spiral only she could read. Some scoffed, others pleaded for help. But each night, more people vanished, replaced by echoes sharper and colder with every retelling. The birds stopped singing at dusk, and even the river changed course, carving new canyons across what had been Main Street. When Anna's mother disappeared, replaced by a perfect copy who smiled but never once blinked, Anna fled into the mines, seeking truth in darkness and stone. There, in the silent heart of Echo Hollow, the echoes finally spoke. 5. The echo's warning. In the deepest shaft, Anna gazed into a pool of black water. She saw not her own face, but those of 100 villagers, lost, abandoned, replaced. The reflections peered back as if trapped in glass, their mouths moving soundlessly, pleading for release. Suddenly, the water shimmered, and a voice, not an echo, but a true, thunderous answer, filled the cavern. This place is chosen. Sound is the anchor. Memory is the price. If you forget yourself, you become us. Anna screamed, and the echo grew louder. Clawing her name into the stone with a rusted nail, she vowed never to forget, never to answer a call that did not sound like her own. As she dragged herself from the mine, Anna carried with her the only weapon capable of battling the living echo: a story, a memory, and the will to remember herself, no matter what face greeted her at dawn. 6. The echo spreads. Anna's discovery in the mines did not save Echo Hollow, not immediately. As she scrambled back into daylight, her hands raw, her soul churning, the whole village felt the air vibrate, brief, sharp, unseen tremors, as if the ground beneath them were testing its voice after years of silence. Twins now outnumbered originals. In the main square, a mother clung to the arm of one daughter, while a perfect duplicate screamed on the other side. Husbands locked wives in pantries. Children drew chalk lines down the sidewalk, daring adults to cross into the half of town they claimed was real. Windows filled with identical faces, mirrored in terror and denial. No one trusted mirrors anymore. Some covered them, others smashed them. Anna watched the shattered glass and saw not her own face, but hundreds, stacked like cards, each one just slightly askew. Outside, beyond the mining ridge, travelers and salesmen stopped coming. Letters never arrived. The last telegraph to the county seat was never answered. 7. Night of the Shattered Echoes. On the 7th night, panic took hold. The air grew thick and viscous, as if each breath must be chewed before swallowing. Groans came from the mines at dusk, the eerie resonance of picks and shovels heard by ears hundreds of yards away. Work that no man in Echo Hollow still performed. Then the singing started. At first it was a lullaby, pure and warm, drifting up from the creek. Before long, a second voice joined, higher and eerier, then a third, until the air rang with fragments of the same song, warped, reversed, repeated in new keys. Even the bravest men locked their doors and hid in the dark. Anna spent the night at old Beatrice's, clutching her makeshift spiral amulet. But sleep never came. She watched as one of Beatrice's grandchildren paced the hallway, silently, smoothly, never blinking. At dawn, it was gone, and all the rocking chairs on the porch rocked in time with a rhythm no one remembered teaching them. 8. The law comes and fails. Word of the town's crisis, distorted by fear and doubled voices, finally reached the county. Sheriff Edwards, a mountain of a man with a badge big as his faith in reason, arrived with 3 deputies and a doctor. He listened, first to Anna, who could barely speak, then to 2 men both identifying as John Mallory. When the false John challenged the sheriff, Edwards asked each for a childhood secret only the real John would know. They both answered identically. The sheriff tried to arrest the imposter, but townsfolk rioted. Fistfights, tears, and then, as the doctor checked pulses, he found them both. Identical heartbeats, identical old scars. By sundown, the sheriff himself had a double. A stranger with his face in uniform standing by his own car. The real Edwards drew his pistol, but the doppelganger only smiled, walking backward into the mist, vanishing with a fading ripple. After that, the law abandoned Echo Hollow. The villagers were on their own. 9. Anna's descent confusion became habit. Existence became negotiation. Anna, now marked as both mad and prophet, organized secret meetings. By candlelight, in the basement of the old school, she taught the children to draw spirals, to chant each other's names in a cadence meant to ground them in their own bodies. Every night, the voices in the mine grew louder. Anna, driven by some ancient compulsion, tried to record them with an old phonograph. But when she played the cylinder back, she only heard her own voice, reversed and slowed until it became a groan. She wrote letters to herself, hid journals in the attic, burned paper, and buried the ash at crossroads, hoping to trick the echo or outpace it. By day, she checked on her neighbors, marking their doors with secret glyphs so the originals could find safety in the night. But even she was beginning to crack. Some mornings, she woke uncertain where she had slept. A child called her Mama in the square. Her reflection flickered for just an instant, replaced by someone older, colder, with haunted eyes that held a secret Anna wasn't sure was hers. 10. The ritual of naming. On the 13th night, when the moon was full and veiled in hair-like clouds, Anna gathered everyone willing into the abandoned church. She ordered each person, child and elder, to write their full name and a memory on a slip of parchment, then read it aloud so all could witness. The echoes in the walls grew restless, banging like fists on the rafters. The spiral symbol burned blue where Anna had carved it on the altar. "Speak," she commanded. One by one, villagers recited their truths. "I am Simon Kells. I lost my tooth on the millstone. I remember the sound the river made last spring." As the ritual built, a great wind filled the church, and the echo voices howled in rage, matching each recitation with a broken, backward chant, as if desperately trying to overwrite or swallow the real. Some wavered, doubts rising, tears streaking their cheeks. But Anna, undaunted, shouted her name so loud, her voice cracked, blood trickling down her lip. With the first light of dawn, half the doppelgangers lay collapsed like empty skins. But some, those who had inherited enough memory or stolen enough time, remained. 11. The aftermath and the packed Echo Hollow awoke not cured but changed. The silence never returned, yet the singing persisted just beyond the hills, a constant reminder of what tried but failed to claim the town. Anna became a legend, a guardian, a witch, a weary oracle, teaching children to answer their own names, to chase echoes away with stories, to use mirrors not for vanity, but for truth. Some families chose to leave, fearing the lure of the doubled life. Some stayed, founding a yearly festival of names and memories, each new lullaby, another anchor against the living echo. But even as Anna grew old and gray, she knew the echo was patient. Sometimes, in the quiet between breaths, she heard her brother's voice reach out from the cave. Annie, Annie. She would press her spiral amulet, whisper her name 3 times, and stare down the mist, vowing to remember who she was, no matter what face the world, or her own, wore tomorrow. Chapter 2. Echoes from Below. 1. The Mind Stir. After the naming ritual, life in Echo Hollow did not return to normal. The residents felt an unshakable presence lurking beneath the town. Every night the ground vibrated with secret footsteps. Sometimes Anna heard faint laughter below her bedroom, grating, metallic, disconnected from any known voice. Rumors swept through the streets. Some said the earth itself was haunted. Others whispered about old debts, about voices from the mine that had lured men to their doom generations before. A farmer named Silas saw furrows in his field, a pattern of overlapping spirals, too perfect for a plow or natural wind. But only children dared to visit the mines. 2. The Children's Descent. On the eve of the harvest moon, 4 children vanished. They were seen hours before, playing skip rope near the mouth of the old mine, daring each other to run into the blackness and bring out a stone as proof of their bravery. When Anna and her small band of marked ones found their tangled skipping rope at dawn, it was wet and dusted with glimmering blue powder. The echo in the valley was louder than ever, a deep, mournful chant, like voices crying out from a well. Anna was determined to find the missing children. Against her better judgment, and despite the dread clawing at her, she led a search party. 3 trusted neighbors, each wearing the spiral mark, all gripping torches, notebooks, and bits of string to leave a trail behind. 3. Into the depths. The mine had been abandoned for 2 decades since a collapse killed 9 men. The timber shorings hung bent and rotting. The air grew colder with each step underground. Their torches cast trembling shadows against walls streaked with veins of fool's gold and smoky quartz. As they entered the oldest tunnel, Anna felt the air thicken, a pressure in her ears, a silent demand to go back. But the further they crawled, the more their ears began to ring. Whispers licked at their memories, replaying arguments, lullabies, and confessions. Anna could hardly distinguish between her own guilt and the sorrows of the others. Then ahead, a new sound. A child's voice called out from a pitch-black chamber, "I'm here! Don't let the echo take me!" The group rushed forward, finding one of the missing children huddled against a boulder, eyes wide with terror, muttering the same spiral pattern over and over. "Who else is here?" Anna asked softly. The child simply stared at the glimmering dust on his palms. 4. The Doppelganger's Test. As they turned to retreat, Anna realized 2 more children had appeared beside them, both perfect copies of one in the group. Each smiled, reaching hands out, humming a tune Anna hadn't heard since childhood. Anna froze. One was her own reflection as a child, the other a girl who resembled Anna's dead sister, lost when the mines first went quiet. "Anna, play with us," said the twin shadows in eerie harmony. "No one comes back once they join the echo." The others panicked, but Anna managed to carve a spiral in the mud with her boot and recite the naming chant. One shadow glared, hissing, and faded. The other smiled and said, "You're still here, Anna, but how long can you keep singing?" Anna wept as she carried the real child out, the line between self and echo blurring with every step. 5. The Underground Chamber. Back in the village, a sudden scream broke the tense dawn. Mrs. Lindell's parlor had caved in overnight. Under the wreckage, villagers discovered a new cavern, walls covered in spirals and runes, thick with freezing mist. Anna, fighting fatigue and fear, was called to investigate. In the center lay a stone plinth, and upon it the names of everyone in Echo Hollow, etched in a shifting, living blue. When Anna touched her own name, voices surged from the shadows. Some memories, others warnings, still others surrendering to the echo. Anna saw images, her parents, townsfolk, ancestors, each merging and separating, flickering between the living and their double. The townsfolk realized this chamber was the heart of their torment, the echo's nest, the ledger of identity and memory. It was both prison and anchor. Some begged Anna to destroy the chamber. Others, full of dread, prayed it never be touched. 6. The Council of Echoes. A town meeting was called. Anna, exhausted and shaky, told the full tale, the test in the mind, the inhuman twins, the power of spoken names and carved spirals. Elders revealed old legends, that the land was a crossroads, a place where worlds touched and memory could split like water in a stream. A fiery debate erupted. Some wanted to exile those suspected of being echoes. Others insisted all must battle for their identity together. Anna argued for unity, for sharing stories each night and marking doors with spiral glyphs. Late, as the fire burned low, a new voice broke the silence. A tall stranger, face hidden in shadow, reciting in a strange tongue. If you do not claim yourselves, the echo will. Every forgotten name becomes ours. Every unsung memory is our food. Anna realized, with shock, that this was one of the original miners lost 2 decades ago, now twisted, somehow less and more than human. 7. Breaking the cycle, night fell as a thunderstorm rolled over the hills. Anna called the bravest villagers into the old church, lighting hundreds of candles, each flame symbolizing a living name. She led them in the naming chant, then shared stories, embarrassing secrets, first kisses, tales of hope and regret. The echo tested them, sending images, dead relatives, old pets, phantom lovers, through stained glass windows as the wind howled. Anna's mother appeared, drenched and pleading to be let in. Anna's hands shook, torn between grief and resolve. With a final raw whisper, Anna named herself for all to hear, stabbing the spiral amulet into the altar. Lightning struck the steeple, and the chamber underground trembled, releasing a pulse of energy that echoed through every building and every soul. 8. Dawn of the new echo. When morning came, for the first time in weeks, the birds sang. The river returned to its course. Many echoes, caught in fading mist, drifted away or dissolved entirely. But not all. Those who had lost themselves, those whose stories were too broken, remained hollow-eyed, living as uncertain reminders of the struggle. Anna, changed forever, was both hailed and shunned. New rules arose: to speak your name at every meal, to guard your stories, to answer riddles only you would know. Spiral glyphs became as common as lanterns, but coasted beneath every routine, there persisted a fear that the echo, touched but not destroyed, would return in another form or in another age. Anna herself ventured back into the mine, determined to salvage any child, any story that had not yet been consumed. She knew the echo was waiting, patient as the deepest darkness below. 9. Anna's Vigil. For 2 nights after the encounter with the chamber and the council's tense debates, Anna could not sleep. She took shifts at the mine's old mouth, torch in hand, guarding the one entrance now marked with dozens of spirals. She was joined by Silas, gaunt and hollow-eyed, who confessed in the dark that his wife no longer recognized him, even though he bore the mark. "Sometimes I see her talking with someone who looks like me," he whispered. "Only I'm still on the porch. And I forget. Was I ever really there?" Anna offered him the only hope she had. "You remember your first lie? The thing you never told anyone?" Silas nodded, choked by tears. Anna pressed his hand, and in the stillness, both felt the echo hesitate, unable to breach this small citadel of shared confession. 10. The return of the lost one evening, a crowd gathered at the church. One of the missing children, Mattie, staggered into the square, dirty, silent, and wild-eyed. Anna pulled him close and whispered his name. He refused to answer, instead clutching at Anna's spiral amulet. When Mrs. Lawson, Mattie's mother, reached for her son, another Mattie stepped out of the shadows, identical but serene, almost floating. The villagers recoiled. Anna demanded both boys write their full names on the wall. The first used backward letters, the second traced the name, but added an unknown symbol. Anna pressed for a childhood memory. The first remembered a broken sled. The second described a night Anna herself had spent on the riverbank, something no one else could know, not even Mattie. Anna's heart sank. Could this second Mattie be a deeper echo, one with not just the form and face, but the very secrets of her soul? She realized the echoes were learning. The more stories the villagers told, the more the echo could shapeshift, stealing not just bodies, but history. 11. Dreams of the spiral. Anna began to dream every night, vivid, suffocating dreams in which she wandered endless underground corridors lined with spirals. Each chamber contained villagers, young, old, friend, stranger, standing like statues, their mouths open, silent screams forming blue mist. In the dream, Anna saw her brother at last. He beckoned her close, eyes shining. "If you forget yourself, Annie, I disappear. Say my name. Sing the song Dad taught us." She woke gasping, fingers clutching at a tune half-remembered, terrified she'd lost a piece of herself. A note, a lyric, a flicker of laughter. Each morning, Anna awoke surrounded by villagers needing comfort, needing to say their own names, to hear their own voices in morning sunlight, just to be sure they were still real. 12. The ritual of remembrance. Desperation bred innovation. The town's oldest, Miss Beatrice, found a trunk of church hymnals in the crypt. Anna spent hours by candlelight, composing a new ritual. Each villager would write their name, age, biggest secret, and their proudest moment on a scrap of cloth. They would tie these to a rope spanning the church, and every dawn and dusk touch the nearest knot, repeating their details 3 times. The echoes hated this. Some tried to join, copying the ritual, but always stumbling over a truth, forgetting a pet's name, inventing memories others could expose. Each time an echo failed, it faded, for an hour or a day. Yet the ritual grew harder. As more stories bled into each other, more villagers forgot which knot was theirs. Anna taught everyone to dance in the square, a strange circle dance with steps only true children of Echo Hollow could remember from birthdays long ago. At first, the echoes hovered at the edge, then retreated further, until late one stormy night, when Anna caught an echo, mastering the steps perfectly. She realized the danger. The more the town clung to shared stories, the more the echo could weaponize memory, infiltrating deeper, learning how to never be caught. 13. Breaking the chain. On the longest day of the year, Anna made a choice, a risk born of exhaustion and defiance. She entered the mine alone, spirals painted on her cheeks, voice hoarse from hours of chanting. She brought with her a single item, an old music box her brother once fixed, wound for perhaps the last time. She played the melody, letting it echo. The tunnels responded, first with a sigh, then a chorus of voices chiming in. Anna followed the music through a maze, through nightmare shadows and pools of blue mist, until she reached a chamber deeper than any before. A chamber where every face of every vanished villager peered down from the walls, not carved, but somehow grown. Here the echo revealed itself, a shape-shifting mass of memory and want, a wave that surged, sometimes taking Anna's mother's form, sometimes her brother's, sometimes Anna's own face marked with spiral scars. "You are us," the echo crooned. "Let go. Lean in. You do not know which memory is yours. Isn't it easier to forget?" Anna wept. Then she pressed the music box to her chest and sang the family song. Off-key, broken, but hers. The echo screamed and fractured, faces splintering. Anna named every person she could recall, names doubling and tripling as they spilled from her. With every name, a lost villager's face reappeared in the stone, a flicker of hope, a little more of the echo dissolved. 14. Dawn after the longest night. Anna returned to Echo Hollow at sunrise, unsteady, exhausted, and half disbelieving she was alive. At her approach, the birds sang a new melody, picking up the strains of her battered voice. The spell of silence was gone, for now. The line between self and echo had blurred, but Anna's ritual became legend. Neighbors met at the town square, sharing stories, inventing new ones, writing names on mirrors, on walls, on one another's hands. Some echoes remained, confused, sad, clutching faint traces of memory, but most faded or perhaps blended into the town, neither fully gone nor truly home. Anna herself changed. Her hair shot through with white, her eyes brighter, voice roughened by chant and silence. She became known as Echo Warden, the one who fought the song below, the guardian of names, stories, and the fragile thread tying memory to identity. The town learned not just to survive the echo, but to build new traditions. Candlelit recitations, spiral tattoos, a festival of secrets shared in the open, oaths of name and memory taken on every solstice. Yet even in peace, the villagers never truly relaxed. For in gaps between laughter, in moments of solitude, Anna and her people sensed the echo, waiting beneath the hill, patient as the dark itself. End of Chapter 2. Extended. If you'd like a particular focus on dialogue between Anna and a specific echo or emotional scenes among townsfolk, just let me know for even richer narrative detail. Chapter 3. Doppelganger Days. 1. The unraveling summer faded, but Echo Hollow did not recover. Instead, a new malaise seeped into daily life. Paranoia, uncertainty, a gnawing dread that everyone could feel, even if they couldn't name its source. Rituals of naming and remembrance grew more elaborate and desperate. Yet the spiral glyphs seemed to lose power as the echoes evolved. Anna felt it keenly. Villagers, once timid around the marked, now avoided everyone, afraid that even eye contact might forge a new copy, another living shadow. Some families split along ideological lines, originals versus others, with the spiral amulet the sole passport. Children learned to test their parents, devising riddles and secret signals, never trusting familiar faces entirely. One night, the old school teacher, Miss Harrow, vanished while making tea. The next morning, 2 teachers stood by the blackboard, both writing conflicting lessons in odd, mirrored script. 2. The day of the Great Divide. The council called another emergency meeting. Tensions ran high, recusations, tears, and even fistfights as one villager stood accused and another stood in their defense. Anna barely kept order, her authority strained. Some begged to be allowed to leave for the neighboring towns, desperate for any normalcy. But the council worried. What if leaving spread the echo? What if their problem was contagious? Anna's idea was met with cautious hope. Experiment with outsiders, asking them to join rituals and wear glyphs, seeing if the echo took root elsewhere. A stranger, a trader named Lewis, passing through, was marked and subjected to a spiral dance and memory chant. For days he remained unchanged, but on a stormy night he vanished, leaving only scrawled warnings in the dust. The blue echo follows memory. It was clear the echo could not be contained by distance, only by ritual, by story, and by stubborn resistance. 3. Anna's discovery. As the town's leader, Anna repeated her descent into the mine, this time venturing further, deeper than ever. She hunted for clues, old tools, discarded boots, lost journals from before the echo claimed the hollow. Along the deepest shaft, she discovered a time-worn notebook, pages filled with elaborate spiral diagrams and cryptic messages. We are not alone in the mine. Every echo breeds in silence. Names are the only barrier. The ledger is a living thing. Anna felt an uncanny sensation, her own thoughts echoing inside her skull, repeating questions, answers, doubts. Was she herself an original, or one of 1,000 doubles, more self-aware than most? At the deepest rock face, she found a door, hewn, ancient, marked with spiral runes and names unfamiliar. Anna touched it, the stone humming, and the echo inside responded with laughter in her brother's voice. 4. The doppelganger's uprising. Back in the village, a new threat emerged. A small army of perfect doubles assembled on the square. Women who looked just like Anna, men with Silas's slouch and smirk, children who played spiral games without error. One echo took the lead, and Anna with amber eyes, cold voice, commanding uncanny authority. The doppelgangers declared their intent. We are the future of Echo Hollow. Your rituals are games, the echo is truth. Memory is pain. Surrender, and you will know peace. Panic swept the village. Anna rallied the originals, leading them through the streets, shouting names and stories. Some echoes melted away, unable to compete, but the stronger ones, those who held enough stolen secret, stood their ground. The town split, shadow against self, reality splitting along lines of memory and myth. 5. The War of Truths. The next week was chaos. Night and day blurred into confrontation. Anna led her side in nightly circles, chanting names, sharing dreams. The echoes, angry and cunning, met in silence, staring victorious from windows and doorways. Some villagers cracked. Silas, lost in depression, let his echo take over for days, more comfortable as a shadow. Others rebelled, striking echoes with brooms and shouting riddles. At dusk, spiral bonfires dotted the hills, a signal to every original to mark themselves and remain vigilant. Anna realized the futility of open war. She sent emissaries, children carrying secret questions, to parley with the echoes. Some agreed to peace. They wanted only to live, sharing stories, claiming their own names. Others, obsessed with erasure, insisted on becoming the sole inhabitants. 6. Anna's Pact. In the old crypt, Anna met with her amber-eyed double. The echo proposed a truce. If you allow echoes to live freely, we will protect your memory. Our rituals will reinforce identity rather than erase it. Anna hesitated. To let the echo survive was to invite uncertainty, but perhaps resistance alone would fail. She agreed, but on one condition. Every echo must create new stories, claim new names, never steal identity from the living. The amber Anna accepted, promising to lead her kind toward invention rather than theft. The first Echo Festival was held that week. Every villager, original or double, forced to present a tale, a spiral, a secret, not borrowed, but truly invented. The echoes struggled, some failing, fading into dusk, but a handful succeeded, growing paler, but becoming something else. No longer echoes, not quite originals. 7. Resolution, not release. Peace returned, tense but sustainable. The council reorganized, originals and echoes both represented, Anna as warden, the amber Anna as echo speaker. Together they watched over the mine and the chamber, enforcing the festival of naming and the ritual of memory. Children grew up learning both versions of stories, one bright, one shadowed. Some married across the divide, their children marked with doubled spirals, whispered both chants day and night. Outsiders came to study, drawn by reports of identity anomalies in Echo Hollow's heart. Anna grew older, her legend deepening, the warden who made peace with the shadow. She taught secrets of the ledger, how to defend identity in the face of imitation, how to find music in silence, how to tell one's story so strongly that no echo could steal it. But she knew privately that echoes never truly disappear. Sometimes in sleep, she spoke with her double by starlight, learning new tales, gaining solace from the knowledge that even in erasure, creation persists. 8. The legacy begins. As the world outside changed, radio, television, electric lights, Echo Hollow held fast to its rituals, adapting new technologies to anchor memory. Spiral apps were created, each villager logging secrets, stories, and names in digital ledgers protected by cryptic codes. Echoes drifted to new towns, bringing stories, blending with populations. Anna's name, the spiral, and the ritual of memory became national legends, sometimes cautionary, sometimes revered. The chamber below the mine hummed with ancient and new energy alike. And every year, the entire town gathered for a festival, a masked ball, shadows and originals dancing together, laughter ringing, children learning the spiral step. Anna sat by the fire, singing her family's song, watching the echo smile in time, a soundless, perfect harmony of difference and remembrance. 9. The Spiral Children. Among the children of Echo Hollow, a new subculture arose. They called themselves Spiral Children. With no memory of a time before the echoes, they invented secret languages and hand signals, drawing spirals on each other's arms with berry juice and charcoal. Anna watched, amazed, as these children played games in which the penalty for forgetting the rules was to sit silently until someone remembered your name or shared a story about you. One girl, Ella, developed an uncanny ability. She could spot an echo at first glance, saying things like, "That one blinks too slowly," or "His laughter is borrowed from last Tuesday." Parents became both reliant on and wary of Ella. Her gift made her a town oracle and a potential target. Some echoes tried to duplicate Ella, but none succeeded. Her stories changed with each telling, always unpredictable, always hers. 10. Memory Market. Recognizing that stories were survival, Echo Hollow began hosting the memory market on the new moon. At night, townspeople gathered in the lantern-lit square. Instead of goods, they traded stories, funny, tragic, and strange. Each narrative was bought with a secret or an oath, cementing memory and identity through transaction and witness. Anna used the memory market to teach rituals subtly. Each merchant had a unique call, echoing not just for buyers, but for kin recognition. Echoes sometimes tried to barter, but their tales, lacking the element of lived regret or joy, rang hollow to the original villagers. Children were encouraged to invent, embellish, and improvise, ensuring no two retellings ever matched exactly, making duplication ever harder. A traveling historian, hearing whispers of the town that traded in memory, sought entry. The council allowed him only if he left his own darkest memory at the gate, to be returned only after he passed a secret test. He agreed. His experience became the market's most popular story for a generation. 11. Echo Art. As the months rolled, Echo Hollow transformed. Where old traditions faded, art bloomed. Murals on barns depicted the spiral dance. The moment the Echo and original Anna clasped hands in uncertain peace. The names of lost villagers woven subtly into rosettes and vines. Young and old competed to create the most elaborate spiral. Potters hid glyphs on the bottom of cups. Blacksmiths braided patterns into iron railings. Anna commissioned the creation of a bell, whose silence at certain hours reminded the town never to take sound for granted. A brief hush, after which everyone had to shout their names for the echo to hear. The greatest work was the spiral tapestry, a growing mural sewn from scraps, brought by every family, each square marking a tale or riddle unique to them. It was both archive and protection, proof against the day when the echo might try to start anew. 12. Anna's final test. One night wind shrieked through the woods, and with it came an echo storm, a flock of spectral birds circling the rooftops, sowing forgetting with their calls. Anna awoke with no memory of her mother's face, no sound in her mind for her brother's lullaby. Panic overtook the town as dozens forgot their jobs, their lovers, even what year it was. Desperate, Anna gathered the spiral children and her own echo double. In a daring act, they formed a spiral chain, holding hands in the night, reciting names, swapping secrets, and daring to invent impossible tales on the spot. As each child spoke, the wind lessened, the birds scattered, and Anna found her memory returning, one blurry edge at a time. But a cost remained. Some stories could not be recovered. Those echoes took final form and left, walking into the forest where no one dared follow. Anna, aghast, realized the spiral's power. What was remembered could return. What was lost would not become an echo again. 13. The outsider's arrival. Curiosity brought strangers, archivists, folklorists, doctors. Echo Hollow welcomed them with caution. Anna, older now, instructed her people to let the outsiders taste the spiral bread, hear the silent bell, and trade a story at the memory market. Echoes observed but did not approach. One woman from the city tried to smuggle forbidden tape recorders into the chamber beneath the mine. When she played her tapes back, all she heard was her own laughter, warped and ancient, overlapped with hundreds of voices, including Anna, singing the spiral song. Frightened, she left the machine and fled, but the town kept the tape for festivals, a warning and a comfort at once. When a scientist claimed he could explain the echo as a rare form of collective trauma, Anna kindly disagreed. If you truly lived here, you'd see that we are not just haunted by the past, but creating it as we go. 14. Echo Hollow endures. Decades passed, yet Echo Hollow never lost sight of its spiral origins. Generations blended, original echo invented, until the difference became mostly irrelevant, save for the rituals. Some left, seeking a life without stories and shadows, but most remained, certain that their memory work was both necessary and noble. Each year at the Spiral Festival, Anna, now gray-haired, sharp-eyed, led the spiral dance, her echo double by her side. Together, they'd lift the silent bell, watching as townspeople from children to elders traced their hands on the spiral tapestry, adding new squares and names. Guests, now numbering in the hundreds, sometimes asked, "Aren't you tired of remembering?" Anna always smiled the same way. To remember is to remain. To invent is to live twice. Sometimes, after the festival, Anna would sit alone with the echo of her brother, sharing new stories, knowing that the boundary, though thin, was now made of laughter, hope, and endless invention. Chapter 4. Ghost Festival. 1. Shadows in Celebration. As Echo Hollow's spiral rituals found their rhythm, something new crept into the air. Anticipation. Festival season approached, a legacy both ancient and constantly reinvented. The Ghost Festival, once a simple autumn harvest dance, changed after the Echo. Now every villager, original or Echo, young or old, marked or unwitting, contributed a piece of themselves to the event. Lanterns carved with spirals lined every doorstep, and at dusk the main square overflowed with laughter that sometimes made even the echoes smile. But that year, as Anna prepared as warden, she sensed an undercurrent of dread beneath the joy. The amber-eyed echo speaker reported that, in corners of the village and at the wood's edge, strange shadows gathered at dusk, watching, waiting, echoing laughter with a fraction of a second delay. 2. The Return of the Lost. On the festival's eve, Ellen, a spiral child grown bold, heard a voice in the forest, a lullaby in a tongue she barely remembered, but which left a sharp, cold ache in her chest. She followed the song to the ancient stone boundary, where she saw shapes, blurry, uncertain, shimmering between solid and smoke. She ran for Anna, who rallied the council and the Spiral Children's Circle, torches in hand. At the wood's edge, the townsfolk saw the shadows gathered dozens deep, faces both loved and lost. Some were echoes that had faded in previous seasons. Some were villagers who had simply disappeared. Others, Anna realized with a shock, were strangers, visitors who had never entered Echo Hollow but now wore its faces, singing ancient songs. 3. The crossing against every old taboo, Anna crossed the boundary, followed by the echo speaker and Ellen. The air chilled, the ground pulsed as if full of heartbeats. The shadows did not attack, only wept, held hands, or repeated their own names in sad, wild lullabies. One approached Anna and handed her a spiral shaped from ash. "We are the unremembered," it whispered. "When the story is not told, we cannot rest." Anna knelt as the echo speaker, trembling, explained. "The echo steals only when there is emptiness, a story untold, a memory left unguarded. These are not invaders. They are the sum of what Echo Hollow has forgotten, and what every spiral can still save. They led the unremembered back into the village, where, for one night, a truce reigned. The lost ate, danced, and sang with the living, each story and name recorded to be retold for the next year." Chapter 4. The Mask Pageant Festival intensity peaked with the mask pageant. Each villager created their own mask, some depicting ancestors, others wild beasts, lost loves, or secret fears. Patterns borrowed from echo spirals twined with old family symbols, producing radiant displays. The rules were strict. You could not wear your own mask, and whoever received it had to stand before the town and speak a secret, a fear, or a hope, as though it belonged to them. Echoes and originals were indistinguishable behind the masks. The exercise made new stories, new selves, impossible for the echo to claim or destroy. A visiting chronicler called it the most beautiful confusion she had ever witnessed, a labyrinth of identity that protected individuality by blending it. Anna watched hundreds of candles flicker, faces swapping secrets, children wailing until their masks were safely reclaimed. 5. Underneath, the chamber shifts. Beneath the festival, in the chamber under the mine, the living ledger churned. Anna, restless after the celebration, crept down to check on the spiral stones and the ancient tapestry left to guard memory. The tapestry had changed. Squares shifted, names rearranged, and new stories appeared, stitched in hands no villager recognized. As Anna stared, the stone pulsed with blue light, and a gentle, mournful voice filled the cavern. A story untold becomes a door, each spiral unmarked, an invitation. Anna, unnerved, realized a choice was at hand. Keep naming and remembering, or lose the boundary that made Echo Hollow safe. 6. The Great Test. The next day, a heavy fog rolled in, thicker than ever before, muting sound and dulling sight. Anna's echo double warned her. Some memories wish to return. Some seek new lives. The entire village, living, echo, and even the unremembered, gathered at the heart of the square. This time, instead of rituals of protection, Anna called for invention. "Tell me a story," she demanded of every shadow, every spiral child, every echo and stranger. "Tell me something never told, true or false alike. Let invention overwrite the old spiral. Let fiction feed the hollow." Tales of impossible gardens, winged foxes, and time-traveling lovers filled the air. The fog wavered, flickered, and cracked. The echoes danced, improvising songs. The spiral children invented a new language that had no echo, no mirror. The ledger below trembled. Some echoes vanished, satisfied. Others split or merged, creating kinds never before seen. A new generation of spiral stories, half lost, half made. 7. Revelations and Consequences. After the test, Anna and the echo speaker met beneath the new, ever-shifting tapestry. There, the chamber walls revealed a secret. An ancient spiral at the heart, older than the town, with patterns crossing those of distant cultures, far older than Echo Hollow itself. "Myth is our oldest echo," Anna whispered, "and to be remembered is to be reborn, sometimes as someone new." From that day, Echo Hollow became a global legend. Scholars and mystics traveled to witness the Ghost Festival and experience the living echo for themselves. The rituals deepened. Technology wove with story, as spiral children built digital spirals and AI echoes, always aware of the cost and power of remembrance. Yet in each new myth, Anna sensed the old echo's patience, that somewhere, in the silent dark, a single forgotten story could open the way for forgetting to begin anew. Shrek 8. Anna's Farewell. As the chapter closes, Anna, now revered in gray, led her final festival. Under a sky lit with spiral lanterns, she passed the silent bell to Ellen, the new warden. She told her echo double, "We are both necessary. The world will always invent new stories, and fear will always try to copy them. But for as long as Echo Hollow remembers the spiral, the echo can only make us more alive." Anna's story became the closing song of the festival, told and retold, each year richer and stranger. Echoes and originals, children and visitors, all danced in the mist, their masks glimmering, their tales forever entwined. Tour 9. The Echo Bard. After Anna's farewell, the festival introduced a new tradition. The Echo Bard, a chosen villager, echo or original, whose role was to gather and weave the newest tales of the year, blending fact and fiction into a night-long performance. Ellen trained fiercely. She learned the secrets of voice, memory, and improvisation from the Spiral Children, crafting stories about the vanished and the unexpected, about dreams in the mines and mysteries in the forest. On the festival night, Ellen began her story not with a known name, but with the shadow of an echo who had never been, an invented legend so compelling that crowds fell silent, unable to tell what thread was memory and what was invention. As she sang, the tapestry in the chamber shed a shimmering blue light, shifting and swirling, bringing new squares into existence. For a moment, Anna saw her brother's echo peering out, smiling, unburdened by fear of being forgotten. The festival ended in laughter and cathartic tears. The echo, at least for this year, both partner and challenger, driving the imagination of all who listened. 10. Echo Hollow's exile. Not all stories ended happily. Some echoes became restless, seeking new lands beyond the woods. A dozen slipped out into the world, carrying memories they'd forged in the spiral and stories never told before. Anna, older and wise, allowed them to go, knowing that exile sometimes sowed new roots, new spirals, new echoes. Visitors wrote letters home filled with rumors of spiral rituals and secret festivals. A scholar from Boston published a treatise on echo-logic, triggering a new wave of outsiders, some reverent, some mocking. Mainstream scientists dismissed Echo Hollow, but millions on the internet spread its stories, using spiral emojis and digital tapestry sites. Ellen, now known as Warden and Echo Bard, sent Spiral Children to track the echoes in their travels, ensuring stories remained strong, memories shared, and the viral myth of Echo Hollow only continued to grow. 11. Anna's Last Vision. One final autumn, as frost painted the woods silver, Anna dreamed of the chamber. She wandered darkness until she reached a door she hadn't seen before, blue, cracked, opening onto a field of light. Inside waited not her family or echoes, but the Spiral Children, older now, weaving the tapestry together. Anna saw every thread, every name, every invented story turning and burning bright. A single echo approached, her brother, but not quite. He pressed into her hand a spiral of gold, whispering, "We are all the story now, Anna. You cannot be the warden forever. Rest, and let the echo guide you." Anna awoke refreshed, knowing the world would remember her and her people, even if her own tale faded slowly, like morning fog. Tour 12. The global spiral years later, Echo Hollow was but one of hundreds of towns across the world embracing spiral rites and echo festivals. Story markets appeared in Europe and Asia, echo dances in city squares, and digital spiral apps boomed as protection against loss, memory illness, and existential dread. The ancient chamber, once a cave of threat and mystery, was now a beacon and archive. Global scholars, Spiral Children, and Echo Dreamers traveled annually to add their own squares to the tapestry, writing names, real or invented, until the walls lit up in rainbow riot, echo, and invention indistinguishable. Anna, long gone from the living, remained the secret melody in every festival, her story sung and retold with every echo, proof that even in a world built from shadow and fear, invention and memory could always make it new. Chapter 5. The unheard threat. 1. The silence returns. For years, the spiral rituals seemed enough. Echo Hollow, remade as a beacon of memory, outlasted countless other towns lost to rumor, neglect, and the fading of stories. But perhaps it's the nature of horror to reinvent itself, especially when victory inspires complacency. Late one autumn, silence seeped back into Echo Hollow. This was not the suffocating, devouring silence of the first days, but a taut, expectant hush, the kind that follows a question never answered. Children found their voices muffled. Laughter came only when cupping ears close. Radios failed, digital recordings filled with static, and parents worried as newborns went days without crying. Anna, now gone, her legacy carried by Ellen and the Spiral children, appeared in dreams to many, always warning, "It begins again at the edge of silence. Guard every word as gold." 2. Unheard whispers. The first disappearances weren't like before. There were no doubles this time, no marching shadows, no ghostly festivals. Instead, those who vanished left no echoes behind. Where once a story lingered in the chamber, now there was only soot or a faint outline in thread. One boy, brave and foolish, crept into the old mine on a dare. He returned, but his friends didn't. He wouldn't speak, and would barely meet a gaze. Doctors and travelers arrived, bringing instruments and questions, but none could pin down the cause. Was the echo gone, or simply evolving, becoming not a rival identity, but a pure force of erasure? Old spiral protection failed. Painted glyphs faded. No one could remember the festival's last song, and whole squares unraveled on the mural. Pour 3. Ellen's investigation. Ellen, carrying Anna's bell and authority, threw herself into research. She gathered witnesses and Spiral children, retracing old rituals, inventing new ones, recording stories by hand, tattooing names in secret, trying every tradition to see what would hold. She discovered an old prophecy inside the chamber, etched on the reverse of the oldest spiral. The world must be known to be kept. The echo grows smaller, then vanishes. Silence is not absence, but waiting. Beware the day when no one dreams of the echo. There, forgetting comes for us all. That night, Ellen dreamed the echo itself, a formless tide pressing against the village's edge, murmuring unright enough stories, and even the spiral withers. The warning fueled her. She revived old story fights, contesting impossible tales against one another, judging the winners not by truth, but by their staying power. "Remember something new every day," she commanded. "Speak even your lies loudly. Never let silence grow bold." 4. The Forgotten Choir. But resistance had its cost. Some villagers lost their voices, not on their own, but stolen in the night. They would wake, mouths moving, eyes pleading, unable to speak their own names or summon a single sound. Their stories faded fastest from the chamber, their spiral marks bleaching to gray. The spiral tapestry deteriorated. Children who once knew every verse of the spiral song could recite only the chorus, then a line, then nothing. New echoes didn't reappear. Instead, something far worse. A darkness without shape or motive, feeding both on presence and absence, on story and on silence. A town council vote was called. Some argued to open Echo Hollow to the world, inviting all to retell the spiral stories, hoping that mass invention would stymie the new threat. Others feared outside attention would break what little remained of their defenses. 5. The Visitor. One day, without warning, a visitor arrived, a girl with blank eyes and a spiral mark burned into her palm. She said nothing, but walked to the center of the square, raised Anna's bell, and rang it. The note cut through the waiting hush, a pure, haunting sound. Ellen, drawn forward, asked her name. The girl parted her lips, and black smoke poured out. "I am what is left when all stories die," she rasped. "For years you fought the echo. Now you must fight forgetting itself." Around her, wind rushed through the town. Echoes tried to gather, but could not coalesce. Survivors sobbed, clutching scraps of memory and fading ribbons, listening for Anna's song in the distant wind. 6. Inventing the new spiral. Ellen realized they could not win by retelling the old any longer. Invention must be their shield. She gathered those few who remembered or dared to imagine. "New spiral, new rules," she declared. "We must invent rituals faster than forgetting unravels os." Teams set to work. Poets, children, dreamers. They invented festivals on the fly. Stories spun from nothing but mood and bravado. Games with mutable rules and chants with verses born anew each dawn. Each creation was marked on skin and stone, shared before the visitor, and her silence could claim them. The visitor never left. She watched from the square, tapping Anna's bell at dusk, testing the limits. When a story was repeated, she would erase it, eyes glowing. Only invention stymied her power. Only constant dreaming kept the void at bay. 7. Technology joins the spiral desperate. Ellen enlisted outsiders, hackers, sound artists, VR designers. Together they built spiral apps that twisted, evolved, deleted old versions, demanding users conjure fresh stories with every login. A new generation of Echo Hollow kids spoke fluently in digital myth, never repeating a phrase, remixing Anna's songs into beats and visual art. Global participation surged. Cities far away started their own live stories, where silence was banned, every invention a countercurse. Some doubted, mocked. Others, desperate to remember vanished ancestors, joined with zeal. The visitor faded as she was denied silence, but left warnings in code. When the last spiral is new, and no echo remains, what will you become? 8. The edge of memory. The spiral tapestry stabilized, the stories printed on new media, encrypted, dispersed, never singular, and thus never truly at risk. Ellen, at the end of her long life, sat by the relit chamber, telling worlds only she remembered. In the final festival, before she passed the bell, every villager, original, echo, and invention, stood and whispered a word that had never before been spoken in Echo Hollow. The chamber shuddered, the mural rippled, and outside, the ancient woods sang a chord both thrilling and terrifying. The fright was still there, but freedom with it, the freedom to be more than haunted, the freedom to invent and to keep inventing, until even silence was just another story, waiting for a name. 9. The Spiral of Defiance. With forgetting claiming more souls, Ellen refused to retreat. She led the remaining spiral children in a march from the square to the chamber, reciting invented stories and new songs with each step. The visitor with blank eyes followed, testing them with stretches of pure silence, forcing each word to bend and echo or fade entirely. At the chamber's heart, Ellen gave a challenge. Let the visitor tell a story, one the silence itself invented. If it cannot, the spiral holds. The visitor blinked and began a low, haunting tale about a world made of wind and bone, where even memory is a borrowed luxury. But the story's shadow cracked as spiral children added color, detail, contradiction, and wild invention. Instead of unraveling, the tapestry shimmered, new names burning brighter in the weave. The visitor's smoke thinned, unable to destroy what was endlessly remixed. It was a battle not just against forgetting, but against the force of sameness, reminding every villager and echo that the price of survival was never to fall silent, never to let the spiral repeat unchanged. 10. The Silent Gate. The ghostly girl, visitor and erasure made flesh, led Ellen and a handful of children to the mine's deepest gate, hidden until stories refashioned the landscape itself. Here, a door opened only by silence, guarded by shadows of those who had forgotten and risked never being remembered again. Ellen, frightened but resolved, recited the spiral oath, "Let my story always change, let my voice always ring. If I must be forgotten, let it be by invention, not by neglect." The silent gate did not close, nor did it swallow her memory. Instead, it changed shape, a spiral opening of shimmering possibility, venting blue and gold light. Ellen and two spiral children passed through, finding themselves in a world of endless chambers, each filled with stories that had yet to be dreamed. They returned, changed, sometimes forgetting who they'd been, but always eager to create a new square on Echo Hollow's tapestry, bound more by hope than by fear. 11. The Final Ring. In the closing festival of the 5th Echo year, Ellen rang Anna's bell for the last time. Villagers, echoes, and newcomers gathered to share a new ritual, the Ring of Remembrance. Every person stood in circle, named themselves loudly, then invented a fact that made them laugh or cry. The visitor stood outside the ring, silent, unable to claim a name or a tear. With every tale, the ring pulsed, sending memory outward, into the woods, then the mountains, and out to the world. As the bell faded, a new visitor arrived, an echo of Anna, or perhaps a new spiral child. She held a sheaf of blank stories and said, "What is left unwritten is merely waiting. Echo Hollow lives as long as anyone dares to invent." The tapestry grew larger. Squares and lines twisted, merged, separated, carving out spaces for the silent, for the lost, for the ones who might never have been. 12. A New Beginning. Afterwards, the silence was not erased but woven into the fabric of Echo Hollow, a sacred interval where new stories ripened. Children played spiral games that always changed. Elders learned to celebrate not only memory, but the invention of meaning. Ellen faded with age, content in knowing the spiral would continue without her. The chamber remained a living archive, welcoming echoes and inventions alike, its walls witnessing the stories of 1,000 times and worlds. Some remembered, some only imagined. And so the threat of oblivion became the fuel for endless creation. The spiral was not a weapon, nor a shield, but a promise that as long as one voice remained, there'd always be a new beginning. And Echo Hollow would never truly fall silent. Chapter 6. The Voice Beyond the Spiral. 1. The next generation years slipped by. Ellen, now gone, became another sung legend in Echo Hollow, her wisdom embedded in rituals and spiral stories, her name stitched into the tapestry more than 100 times. The village was now a hub for researchers, artists, and eco-tourists, who arrived hoping to learn the secrets of memory, invention, and the shadow line between truth and myth. Among the young, the echo bard tradition blossomed. Children told stories of spiral journeys through time, of games played with echoes, of inventions that kept music safe from erasure. They invented new rituals every season, a silence dance, a song of invented words, meals where names must be written backward before they could be eaten. But for all the protection, Some sensed a change in the air, a resonance even the spiral couldn't quite control, a new voice hovering at the edge of sound and sense. 2. The voice arrives. One dusk, a storm rolled in, unheard but felt. Lanterns flickered, animals hid, and spiral children reported hearing music in the thunder as if a chorus of old echoes tried to speak through the rain. That night, a voice slipped beneath window panes and around spiral bells, a soundless question, felt deep in bone and dream. Why do you invent? Why do you remember? Mira, the new echo bard, took up Anna's old music box and played melodies backward, hoping to invite the voice into something tangible. Instead, the air chilled. When she stopped, her shadow seemed to move independently, repeating every motion a few seconds late. At dawn, all villagers found their names written on their doors, sometimes spelled wrong, sometimes inverted, or in a handwriting not their own. Mira summoned the spiral children to council, and together they rebuilt the spiral on the chapel walls, determined to meet the new challenge with every tool of invention and memory. 3. The spiral ring cracks. For months, life continued. Stories at the market twisted into fractal riddles and folk tales. Eco-tourists brought new myths from distant lands. Technology intertwined with ritual as AI generated spiral dances in digital halls. Yet the voice persisted, sowing confusion, encouraging nickname changes, causing spiral squares to swap places night by night. A spiral child named Jude awoke one morning able to speak 3 languages, none of them his own. His mother, stung by panic, led him to the tapestry, where he traced his name until the new knowledge faded to a manageable hum. But one feature was unmistakable. At twilight, the spiral ring cracked, and from those seams, the voice whispered entire alternate histories, lives never lived, loves unclaimed, sacrifices never made. Some villagers welcomed the challenge, weaving new threads into the festival, but others worried the voice was a warning, a test they might finally fail. 4. The Council of Invention. Seeing unrest mounting, Mira convened all the spiral children and echo bards at the chamber. Together they invented a Council of Invention, open to any villager, echo, tourist, or visitor, willing to conjure an impossible story and embrace its consequences. The challenge was direct. Could invention outpace the voice, or would the longing for lost paths tempt villagers to forget themselves? For weeks, the council ran competitions. Who could devise the best lie, the most thrilling alternate history, the most persuasive dream? Through these games, the spiral stabilized again. The name ring glowed, new squares formed on the tapestry, and the voice began to mutate, sometimes echoing back with helpful riddles or strange advice, other times testing the boundaries with nonsense truths or half-erased memories. But still, fear lingered. What if the spiral was now only keeping the threat at bay, not truly defeating it? 5. The world watches. Echo Hollow became a viral sensation. Documentaries arrived, streaming services aired live spiral rituals, and spiral children taught memory dances to viewers on every continent. Mira's council inspired schools as far away as Tokyo and Rio to host their own festivals celebrating invention and confronting erasure. Yet the voice, now known as the Unheard, traveled with these broadcasts, sneaking into foreign stories, remixing legends, sowing mystery just as it once did in Echo Hollow. Global scholars began talking about spiral logic and the echo brain, linking mass anxiety about forgetting to the mythic saga of invention and loss. Some warned that the spiral's gift was double-edged. Wherever stories spread too fast, the unheard found new cracks, offering folk the opportunity to rewrite their identities ever more radically. 6. The Rift. One night, Mira dreamed she walked through the woods on a spiral path. At its center stood a fissure glowing blue from which faces appeared, her own, her friends, and countless strangers, all singing fragments of lost songs and telling stories she'd never lived. She reached for the light, and the unheard voice greeted her. You invent because the world demands it. You remember because you fear oblivion. But what if you embraced forgetting? What might you become? Mira woke unable to recognize herself in the mirror. Her story had changed so much. She barely remembered her childhood. Spiral children, sensing her pain, wrote Mira on her hands, sang her old festival songs, and invented new square dances. In a week, she was herself again, yet now aware that identity is always fluid, narrative never truly fixed. 7. The Echo Pact. In a moment of global resonance, villages and cities all over the world joined Echo Hollow for the Spiral Festival. Thousands of live feeds carried stories, dances, lies, truths, and memory oaths to millions. The unheard voice, strongest at midnight, challenged every storyteller and council. One day, your spiral will break. What will you do then? The answer came not from a leader, but from a child, Jude, whose gift for languages let him invent a story with so many contradictions that even the unheard paused, unable to claim or repeat it. The crowd roared, new spirals blossomed. For now, invention was enough to hold both community and self. Mira and the other bards declared a new pact. Every spiral would be doubled. Every story would be retold in two voices, neither quite true, neither quite false, binding community to myth and myth to hope. Chapter 8. Tomorrow's Name. As dawn broke, Mira led the last spiral oath, inviting all present to shout a name they'd never used before. The chamber hummed, the spiral ring glowed with colors not seen before in folklore or dream. The unheard faded, not gone, but resting, waiting for the next generation to invent its own defenses, questions, and answers. Echo Hollow was never truly safe, but it was never again alone. For every name remembered, there would be one reinvented. For every story lost, 10 would rise in its place. And in the air, beyond the spiral, beyond the echo, lingered the promise that invention and memory would always hold the edge, daring the future to dream anew. 9. The Ceremony of Mirrors. To fend off the unheard, Mira engineered a new ritual, the Ceremony of Mirrors. Every villager, tourist, echo, and child held a hand mirror, gazing into its depths and reciting their names, forward, backward, in invented tongues. The spiral children devised mantras that twisted memory and invented nonsense, making it impossible for any one version to remain unchanged. As midnight passed, Mira ordered the mirrors placed in a circle around the chamber. The unheard sent gusts of wind, shaking windows and rattling spiral bells. But the ritual held. Each reflection became a story. Each story forged a new name. For a flickering hour, the tapestry glowed with every detail, and the unheard shrank to a whisper, forced to watch as reality overflowed with invention too rapid for erasure. 10. Echoes in the digital sky rituals soon leapt from legend to the net. Spiral children live-streamed their Ceremony of Mirrors, encouraging followers worldwide to join. Platforms crashed with the volume of invented stories. Memes and viral dances replaced predictable routines. Invent yourself was the new town motto, embraced as a defense against the unheard. Spiral apps blipped and trilled, constantly updating. Reminders to change nicknames, invent facts, improvise new truths at dinner. Tech giants requested Echo Hollow's stories for training generative AI in anti-forgetting algorithms, creating a world where invention was more common than repetition. Mira monitored the global tapestry nightly, marking new squares for every digital spiral, every dream broadcast across time zones. The unheard drifted around servers, but the ceaseless churn kept it small, more enigma than threat. 11. The Final Festival. On the solstice, the Spiral Children declared a final festival, a challenge to all who feared silence. For 24 hours, villagers and echoes constructed mazes in the square, recited impossible tales, swapped masks and names so frequently that no one could remember what had happened an hour before. Mira, exhausted but triumphant, watched 1,000 stories bloom. At dusk, she handed the spiral bell to Jude, now grown, whose gift for invention and paradox had defined the new age. Jude called for one last game. Each participant must invent a future, and the chamber walls pulsed as echoes of yet unlived years shimmered into the mural. The unheard voice, soft and resigned, whispered, "When all futures are possible, even I cannot impose oblivion." The spiral glowed, indicating Echo Hollow's true inheritance, a town forged in viral invention, myth, and the endless refusal to be forgotten. 12. Tomorrow's Song. Before the final festival closed, Mira led the Spiral Children in the singing of Tomorrow's Song, a tune picked from the stories of the day, never sung before. The song drifted through the valley, reaching distant listeners who joined remotely, adding new notes and verses. The world became a tapestry of possible futures, every spiral a token against silence. Jude rang the bell at sunrise, smiled, and wrote, "To invent is our fate. The myth is the answer to every echo, the hope that tomorrow will always have a sound." As the chamber settled and the Spiral app blinked into a new update, Mira whispered, "The story is never over. As long as the world invents, Echo Hollow endures." Chapter 7. The Infinite Festival. 1. Echo Hollow Reborn. 100 years after the first silence, Echo Hollow was legendary. People from everywhere arrived with masks and stories, hoping to witness the town's impossible spiral, endless invention in the face of the unheard. The chamber was now a living museum. Digital spiral apps updated with every festival, the streets lined with QR codes, linking to every remembered tale and every invented lie. The Spiral Children were global celebrities, appearing in interviews and documentaries. The mural tracked the lives of hundreds of generations, squares splitting and rejoining, spirals crossing continents. Yet even as the world learned to invent, the unheard evolved. It haunted new edges, deep space signals, quantum databases, even dreams where inventors forgot their own language. Scientists and folklorists clashed. Was the spiral a neurological adaptation, or had Echo Hollow discovered the shape of myth's immune system? 2. The Voice Returns. Final Challenge. On the eve of the Infinite Festival, a worldwide event coordinated from Echo Hollow's square to every outpost tapping the myth, the unheard returned louder than ever. Every screen flickered, every Echo Festival synced. Millions felt a collective shiver, a gap in memory, a lost word, A song stopped mid-note. Jude, now the Spiral Warden, convened all global spiral children for a midnight council. The unheard challenged, "You have learned to invent. Now can you invent what has never existed? Can you defy silence where even memory fails?" Jude declared the spiral oath. "Wherever a silence falls, we answer with new story. Where memory ceases, invention begins." Across every device, people responded with voices, images, dances, an eruption overwhelming Oblivion's digital edge. 3. The Universal Echo. The Infinite Festival became a spectacle. VR spirals danced across the sky, artificial intelligence generated mythic riddles, satellites beamed new spiral stories to remote islands. The unheard twisted tech to its own ends, creating time loops, viral non-memes, stories so contradictory. Even spiral bards needed years to make sense of them. In Echo Hollow, every mural wall shimmered with shifting images. Everyone wore a mask with someone else's story. The chamber pulsed, opening rifts. Spiral children dreamed together, flying in invented worlds where the unheard was a puzzle, not a terror. At dawn, Jude announced a new spiral. Everyone must invent a limit. A story that could not be changed, a rule for life or death, for future or forgetting. Some rules were beautiful, others frightening, all necessary. The spiral could not protect against everything. Sometimes the price of invention was loss or transformation. 4. The Edge and Beyond. During the Infinite Festival, a team of digital spiral children explored the boundaries of memory, testing AI limits, hacking quantum code, feeding new myths directly into the unheard. One night they discovered the echo's true nature, not a simple eraser, but an artist, an entity demanding not just remembrance, but creative evolution. Jude revealed, "The unheard is us, our fear of endings, our hunger for meaning. It torments because we grow stories stale, turn every ending into a beginning, and we make peace even with oblivion." Older spiral children gathered for the final ceremony, an echo game where the only way to win was to surprise everyone, including yourself, with a story never before possible. 5. Anna's Last Song. The night concluded with Anna's last song, remixed, inventoried, and rewritten by 100 generations. Spiral holograms of her face and her brother sang together, joined by thousands around the world. In a rare moment, the unheard joined the refrain, a low, curious hum, no longer frightening, but haunting and hopeful. Echo Hollow's chamber glowed as every square resembled both memory and invention, original and echo. The unheard whispered, "Let all worlds sing forever." 6. The Spiral of Tomorrows. As light returned, the festival became an annual ritual, myths spreading by app, ancient spiral children leading new oaths, inviting all who read or watched to become part of the fabric. The mural was no longer static, but generative, updating with each invention, each remembered sorrow, each new name typed into the global spiral registry. The town welcomed new beginnings, echoes moving in openly, new stories retold and invented in equal measure. Jude stared at the sky, imagining the spiral would one day extend even there. Every invention, every word, every dream, proof that life performs best against the edge of oblivion. 7. Tomorrow and forever. The unheard never truly faded, but also never conquered. Where silence grew, story responded. Where old memory died, spirals remade themselves. Echo Hollow became every town, every dream, every mind that refuses to be erased. If ever, anywhere, a child invents a name, a community remembers a song, or an artist creates a spiral against forgetting, they carry the infinite festival forward. a collective refusal. A song for Anna and Ellen and Jude, a game never lost. The closing line sung across every network. To invent is to resist. To remember is to love. The spiral turns, and we turn with it. Beyond tomorrow, beyond silence, beyond even story. 8. The Spiral Pilgrims and Anna's Dream. After the Infinite Festival, the tradition of the Spiral Pilgrims was born. Every spring, children from around the world, dressed in spectral blue and silver, arrived with their own inventions. Stories, dances, names for things never before named. Some left artifacts at the chamber. Origami birds with woven glyphs, headphones filled with invented songs, flash drives with self-erasing poems. One night, as digital fireworks danced over the square and Spiral children hosted a multi-reality scavenger hunt, a young girl named Hazel discovered an ancient mirror tucked away behind the tapestry. She wiped the dust and caught a fleeting reflection. Anna, ageless and laughing, teaching her brother the first spiral dance. Hazel joined the others at the fire, telling her ghost story, and the chamber glowed in answer, as though Anna herself approved. 9. Psychological fallout and the price of invention. As invention flourished, not all was easy. Some villagers tired of the demands, feeling adrift, unable to hold on to any one story as their own. Counselors and spiral bards met with the anxious, teaching how to balance memory and invention, anchoring new rituals in the everyday. To repeat is human, to invent is divine, but to belong is to be both. Some echoes, unable or unwilling to keep pace, faded into the woods, their forms dissolving into harmonies only the bravest spiral children could decipher. Others learned to slow the spiral, cherishing small repetitions, baking bread, reciting riddles, planting spiral gardens where stories grew with the seasons. Scientists charted the phenomenon now called spiral synesthesia, where invention merged with memory, inspiring global trends in art, therapy, and AI training. 10. The Legacy Mural and the Promise. By now, the chamber's tapestry had outgrown the original walls, its threads escaping onto every building, street lamp, and even the bark of the forest. Pilgrims came to add a single square, knowing their invented tale would be woven next to generations past and yet to come. Jude and Hazel, once child, and now renowned echo bard, led the closing spiral every year. Together they sang of Anna, Ellen, Mira, and all the unnamed who fought forgetting with laughter and with lie. The closing lines grew with every telling, a living promise that one day even the unheard would join the dance, curious to know what invention and memory could make together. As night deepened, spiral children and elders alike lit blue lanterns, sending them adrift down the river. A ritual for the lost, a reminder that even those who vanished were part of the spiral. Above, the infinite festival's echoes shimmered into the sky, roots of memory reaching for new tomorrows. And so, in Echo Hollow, within every echo, every name, every invention, the world learned not only to survive forgetting, but to transform it into song.